do they all just have like itchy noses? Or I mean, it's unbelievable to me. I don't understand how people can't see this.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome to my channel and welcome back to another True Crime Sunday, and also my fourth welcome to the last episode of the Kenneka Jenkins case. Today we have our notes, we have our coffee iced. I've got the Jeffree Star pink little, straws because we're saving the environment. But anyway, basically today we are going to be finishing the theories, and these last couple of theories are actually some of the most popular theories. So in last week's video we went through quite a lot of theories, which involved a lot of religion, a lot of satanic rituals, but we also looked at her mother as a suspect, as well as looking at the group of friends that were both with her that night and supposedly involved, although some of those suspects weren't even there that night. All of my videos are pre-recorded, so I am unsure if I had to disable the comments from this video, and I'm unsure how you guys have acted on the comment section of that video. However, I do know that I had to warn you guys to, the second that you guys start talking to me condescendingly or talking about how I look or what have you, that would be the second that I turn them off again, because I did have to disable your right to comment on my videos because things were just getting out of control. This morning, I feel like I've blocked the last account, but they just keep making new ones, and I keep getting really strange messages and really strange comments on my other platforms, on Instagram and things like that, and they just seem to be getting worse. I personally don't know if it is because I have had an issue with someone who has stalked me in the past, and I might make a video about that someday, but it seems to be different this time, and it seems to have like a satanic vibe to it this time, and they're saying things that they don't usually say, and so that's why I think it's one of you guys. I don't think my stalker's back, or at least I hope my stalker isn't back, because the things that these new accounts that keep popping up who keep harassing me are saying things like they're gonna kidnap me, they're gonna lock me up, talking about devil stuff, and the only thing that's different like in my life, or sorry, the only thing that could have spurred this is that either my stalker is back or someone from one of these videos is doing it. And I am going to assume that it's one of you guys and hope that it's just because I've covered this particular case that I'm getting those sorts of comments. Please cut it out. I don't want to have to keep saying this, but that's there. Anyway, let's get into the video. The first theory that I would like to talk about is the theory that Kenneka was raped and murdered, that it wasn't an accident, it was a thought out rape and murder. A lot of the reason as to why people think that Kenneka was raped is because in the crime scene photos, her shirt is down, her breasts are exposed, and her pants are a little waist down. They're not actually fully down, they're just quite low on her waist. There does look like there are signs of a struggle because her hair is all crazy disheveled and her shoe is off, and again, as I said, the breasts were exposed. However, her jacket was still on. I totally get it. I get why people are saying that rape and murder in this case is a theory that they lean more toward. However, I am going to debunk this, because if you have ever watched a movie about climbing Mount Everest or anything in the snow where someone is dying of hypothermia, there is something strange that they do. They go a little bit crazy and they start undressing themselves. And always in these movies, there's two people. There's one person who is doing the crazy stuff, who is like acting like an animal, who is undressing themselves. And then there is the other person who hasn't quite reached that level, who is usually the main character, who survives. But anyway, the person who is gonna survive doesn't understand why the person is taking their clothes off, and they're like, why are you taking your clothes off? You need to warm up. Just like the Jessica Chambers case where she was burned alive, and I was so confused as to why the ambulance people and all the first responders were putting coats on her and blankets on her. I was like, bro, she's probably hot, why are you putting blankets on her? It turns out that a burn patient feels like they are extremely cold. That's why they need to be heated up even though they've just been burned. kind of a similar thing in this case. However, it is psychological in this case. When you go through the stages of dying from hypothermia, there is something that is called paradoxal undressing, and this really is not any kind of new thing. It really does explain why she had pulled her shirt down and why she, you know, her hair looked disheveled. I'm going to talk about how this might come in at the end of the video. However, I don't think that Kenneka was raped, especially because there were so many investigations done, not just carried out by the Crown Plaza and not just carried out by the Rosemont police, but also carried out by the family, because they did not want to believe that this was an accident. They felt like something was being covered up and they did not trust the police. I don't trust the police. I don't trust the Crown Plaza, and for good reason, and we'll talk about that soon. However, in every single investigation, even the ones that were done privately, showed no signs, no evidence of a physical attack or a sexual attack. So paradoxal undressing usually happens when you are in the later stages of dying from hypothermia, and it's when the person feels like they are burning, because I don't know, that's something that the brain does, and so they undress themselves. And usually when you see someone who is at that stage of freezing to death, they are acting kind of like a wild animal, and so they go a little bit crazy. Well, not a little bit crazy, they go really crazy. So Kenneka likely went through the stages of paradoxal undressing because she was freezing to death. She was in the later stages of hypothermia, and I do believe that she wasn't able to take off all of her clothes or properly take off her clothes because she was so impaired. You can see in the footage that she can't even walk properly. And I believe that at the stage that she was at, the amount of time that had gone by was the perfect amount of time for her to be at the peak of her impairment and also dying. There are so many people, even on my videos, who are saying no, like she was too drunk to have opened that freezer door. And then there are other people who say that she wasn't drunk to the point where she would end up in a freezer and not know how to get out. So you've got people who are contradicting each other but not meeting in the middle, and not believing anything in the middle, not believing anything that might seem logical. So you've got people who are saying no, she was too drunk, she was stumbling around, she wouldn't have been able to open that door being so drunk. I saw her open a lot of doors. She even went into the male bathroom. But obviously I know that the freezer door is heavy, but it's easily openable by a normal person, especially because it was made to be used by people, and women work in hospitality too, so please don't say that she was incapable of opening a door. And then you've got people on the other side who say that she wasn't drunk enough to not know how to get out of the freezer. I think she was. She was extremely impaired. And then you'll have people who will say things like, well, the people at the party said that she only had one drink. Well, then I'm also going to bring you back to that night, and I'm going to bring you back to the 911 call where Kenneka's mother says that she cannot handle alcohol, and that was a huge concern for her. So I think if that was, because I don't know any single parent who would say something like that about their child. I think you know your children and you know yourself, and I know for myself, like I can handle a drink. I am a lightweight, but I know that no one would ever be that concerned about me drinking one drink, you know what I'm saying? So if Kenneka's mother was concerned that she had any alcohol, that means that she knows her daughter, and she knows her daughter cannot handle alcohol. If Kenneka was just a regular person who, you know, could handle a couple of drinks, no one would comment on it. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that the mother brought it up in the first place shows that the mother knows that Kenneka can't handle it. She's probably had some incidences before when she's just had one drink and she has been wasted, and that is likely to have given Kenneka a bit of a reputation for not being able to handle alcohol. So even if she did just have one drink, it doesn't matter. Like, one drink to me is different to one drink to you, and if that is going to impair you and everyone knows that it is going to make you hella drunk, then it doesn't matter how many drinks you've had, you're drunk. Additionally, I'm gonna bring up Irene again. Poor Irene keeps getting brought up in every single video, but you know, like, that's just what happens in these things. But Irene said in her little bedroom interview, lounge room interview thing that she did, that the whole entire reason that Kenneka had to leave in the first place was because everyone could see that she was way too drunk. And so anyone who's saying that she wasn't drunk, she only had one drink that night, it really doesn't matter. She was impaired. And her toxicology report showed that she only had alcohol and a form of epilepsy medication in her system, so she was drunk, and it was from alcohol. But leaning more back into the rape theory and the murder theory, people are saying that she may have been spiked with something that wouldn't show up on her autopsy or her toxicology report. And that is a total possibility. However, that is not something that led to her death, but it is something that might have impaired her to the point where she was walking the way that she was. So that is definitely something that I cannot debunk and won't debunk, because it is something that is possible. Now, we're going to talk about the crime scene photos. Again, I'm not going to show the photos. You have access to them. Do that at your own caution. But people are saying that in the crime scene photos, her lip looks busted. People are saying someone must have punched her. A large majority of YouTubers making videos on these conspiracies are saying that Kenneka's lip looks busted. I'm really sorry to bring up hypothermia again, but that's actually something that happens in the later stages of hypothermia as well as in death. However, the normal stages of death aren't occurring here because she was literally frozen to the core. All of her organs were frozen and her extremities would have been swelling. So obviously not at the final stages of her being actually frozen to death. However, in the later stages of hypothermia, the body does swell before you are frozen solid. And so that's why you see things like her belly looked quite swollen, her face looked quite swollen, but not to a crazy extent. It's minor swelling. She did have big lips, but she doesn't look like she has been punched. There's no bruising, and it just looks like swelling, and it can be explained by hypothermia, which is how she died. There's another theory that also ties into the rape and murder theory. So there are different little branches that we're going to go down. This next theory is the reflection theory. I'm calling it the reflection theory. Calling it the reflection theory. So in the early stages of the investigation, at the height of this case's viralness, there was a girl who uploaded a video. The video was originally released by a news channel. This YouTuber, when she was explaining the shitty quality of her video, she was saying that she was at work. She didn't have time to watch the whole thing, and so what she did was she had a friend with her and she was like, give me your phone, give me your phone. And so she grabbed her friend's phone and she started filming her phone, which was playing the footage that the news channel had released. Here's where I'm like, girlfriend, do you know what screen recording is? Because it definitely was available to you then, and I really wish you had utilized it, because as I said in my last video, if you have a theory, you have the burden of proof. You have the burden of proving that theory, and you can't say it. You have to show us. You have to prove it to us. And so she claims that she can't refilm it, and she claims that the news outlet that shared the video in the first place actually removed it. They completely pulled it from their channel, and this wouldn't be the first time that the media have pulled things from their channels, their Facebooks, all this kind of stuff. She said that when they re-released the footage, or at least she googled it and got it from a different source, she said that she wasn't seeing the strange thing that she claimed to see in the video that she filmed on her friend's phone, which was recording her phone. She's like, they weren't the same. She was seeing things in that first video that she's not seeing in the footage that everyone else was seeing now. So then she shows us the strange thing that she sees in the original footage. And I'm going to interject here straight away and say that I think this girl is actually full of shit, because there's no way she would have been able to see it, and I'm going to debunk it later. But what she shows us is she's filming for this YouTube video somebody's phone, which was filming her phone, which was filming another phone. So it's like this crazy, I'm gonna actually, you know what? She's right here.
Do that shit again. So y'all don't see that boy standing back there behind her, y'all. Watch, he's finna pop out.
Look, right there.
Look at that boy, that reflection off that thing. He running. Come on now. Y'all don't tell me y'all don't see dude on this camera. So I'm tweaking. So y'all don't see nobody standing behind her in this doorway. Watch this.
You see the things going on.
Watch this. Watch this, y'all.
Look on there. You see them people back there on the elevator.
Look right there in that doorway. That's somebody right there.
They jumped.
That's somebody right there, y'all. Y'all don't see that. Y'all don't see that shit.
Let me rewind that. Bitch, cause they see that shit, G. Whoever made this.
So y'all don't see these people right here at the back of this girl. Somebody say something, comment. So y'all don't see these people that I'm seeing. Y'all don't see these people that I'm seeing. Look behind her.
And you see it on the elevator.
Look behind her.
Right there.
Now look behind this girl in the doorway. Y'all don't see them niggas right there. Watch, he finna jump out.
Right there.
Y'all don't see him. So y'all don't see him.
Niggas.
What you see here is a whole bunch of screens. And people's fingers are everywhere. People are shaking the footage. And it is just really... If you're trying to prove something, you can't, because there is absolutely no way that you can see anything on this video. But what she claims to see is a reflection of somebody in the Kenneka Jenkins surveillance footage. And that is why I'm saying I wish these, like, I want there to be a conspiracy. I want there to be something that can explain the madness. I genuinely want this, you know what I'm saying? But I can't confirm a conspiracy that can't be proven. And especially I can't back a conspiracy that I can debunk. So that is why I wish these girls knew how to screen record on your phone. So you don't get a chance to see much of anything because they keep putting their fingers all over the screen. They keep shaking the screens that are filming screens. And it's like, you can't see anything from this video. But the fact that there are so many screens is something that's gonna actually help us debunk this whole entire theory. So what exactly are these girls seeing? Well, what they see is a reflection, and this is Kenneka walking into the kitchen. Now I want you to pay attention to the silver bench. There's a shadow that moves across. It's moving across when Kenneka walks by. They also claim to see someone with a long ponytail walking past. So here's the thing. When we use logic, we can actually debunk this pretty easily. I want you to think of a security camera, which is like up in the corner. And this security camera is filming everything that's going on in the area that it's filming. A security camera cannot pick up reflections in the way that they're saying that there's a reflection. Security cameras cannot pick up reflections on things that don't reflect. So you can tell, even though the filming of all of these different screens is so bad and so shoddy, you can tell that what they're actually seeing is a reflection of one of the many screens that they were filming in the first place. When they were filming another screen, someone in the background was walking past and it's reflected onto the screen that they were filming. And if you just have a look at it, you can tell that that is what they're seeing. It's a reflection from their own background. And then in terms of the silver bench reflection, as soon as Kenneka walks past that silver bench, they're saying that they're seeing someone like a shadow disappear. In regard to that, what you're actually seeing is the shadow of Kenneka, like a reflection from that silver bench, because it is a stainless steel bench which can show reflections of what is going past it. So what you're actually seeing is Kenneka's shadow disappear because she is walking past it at the exact point that people are saying that there is a person disappearing. I really didn't think that I would have to explain that. However, there are so many people out there making videos who I genuinely think some of them didn't pick up on that logical thing that I'm picking up on, that I genuinely thought was logical. However, I do think there are people out there who know for a fact that that is literally just Kenneka's shadow disappearing, and it is not some crazy bandit. You know what I'm saying? I do think some people are just doing this for the hype and doing it for the views because, I don't know, they want to be YouTube stars. And something that I brought up in the last video that I did is that these people are not out here to give victims a voice, to shed light on a story, or to, you know, do Kenneka justice. And do you want to know how I can tell? First of all, their videos are ridiculous, and second of all, they have like 70 billion ads in their video. And so, yeah, the disappearing shadow that you're seeing is not of some bandit. It's actually just Kenneka walking past the silver bench and her shadow disappearing. The next thing that we're going to talk about in terms of the security footage and in terms of there being somebody who took her in the stairwell footage, you know, when she's walking in the stairwell and she almost flips over the railing of the stairwell, and then she flips around, she turns around, and she's walking like this down the hallway. She's almost hidden by the corner, half of her body is, and in that split second, people are saying that they see a hand on her waist trying to grab her. Guess what? I have looked over this footage, I've looked very, very closely at it, and guess what that hand is? That is Kenneka's hand, because she is like this. And we've seen that posture from her, that exact posture from her while she's been walking through the hotel drunk. She is walking like this. This hand here is what people are saying is a hand from the corner, someone trying to grab her. Bro, that is her own damn hand. Now on the topic of hands, we're going to move into the next theory, and that is a police cover-up. And if you are like, girl, what? Police? Hands? What are you mean? And the first part of this theory is that on the day that they found Kenneka's body, there were a whole bunch of police going in and out of that area, and something that someone has picked up on is that the police were making hand signals to each other. And I'm actually going to put in some footage of it here just because I think it's really funny. I think it just is so ridiculous, and I think this is one that you guys are actually going to get a slight bit of entertainment from. But this woman with the title, it was something like, you know, proving that the police covered it up and like look at their hand signals and stuff like that. Realistically, all we're seeing is like police people yawning, some guy was scratching his head, another guy had this really nice fade. And we all know when cute guys, or just, I mean, at least any guys, I don't know, just guys get a fade, and they got a fade like, I don't know, today or yesterday. They do that thing where they touch their fade, their hair thing, the shaved bit. So in this footage, there's a guy who's scratching, and the guy next to him, I guess, like, decides that he's got an itchy nose as well. And this YouTuber loses it. She's like, oh, so you've got an itchy nose as well? Coincidence. And I'm like, what? And then there's another man, and like, it literally just looks like he's not keen on seeing a dead body. Like, you know how someone's just not keen on seeing a dead body. I know that people think that police must be used to seeing dead people all the time, but there are police who literally go through their entire career without seeing a dead body. So, and also I'm pretty sure that even if you've seen one dead body, it doesn't make the next one any easier. The next guy to go in is the EMT, and this YouTuber is like, he's in on it because he grabs his nose, like he covers his nose. Can I just say, there's decomposing body into where he is walking into. We don't know what smells were present. We also know that the freezer itself was really disgusting and filthy, and so we don't know what was in there. So he could either just not want to go in and see a dead body, and so he's like that, or there might be some smells present. But just because he covers his nose does not mean that the EMT is in on it as well. I think by this point, when they went to go and grab the body, they had to wait for it to defrost, and so by the point that the EMT was going in there, Kenneka might have defrosted a little bit, and there might have been some smells happening. So I'm going to insert a clip here with this lady freaking out, and I think maybe also the guy touching his fade, but I'm not going to go any more into this particular part of the police cover-up theory. I think there are way more credible things to go on than this hand signaling thing, but it seemed to be like a pretty popular video that people were actually believing, and so I thought I would just touch on it. And it's kind of funny because she loses her shit.
The whole thing is a show. Showing this one. This guy on the far right here with his hand over his face, and watch this guy in a moment. Yep. Went from him, and then he did it. This guy in the back. Watch this. Watch him in the back. See that? So I'm pausing this guy because watch. Looks like he's talking on the phone, right? Oh, I'm talking on the phone. Yes, I'm talking to someone. Watch. There's no one there. No phone in his hand. He's got his hand to his face, his head. There's nothing there. Okay, then you got the EMT. Watch the EMT. I'm gonna do frame by frame. I don't understand how people can think that the officers and these people were not involved when this is going on. Watch her. Or him, I guess. Oh, nose. And checks out the camera. Thumbs up. So whoever she's looking at, or he's looking at, it's a thumbs up, and she looks over here, or it's a he, one of those two. See the arrow with the index finger? I mean, come on, guys. Like, this isn't rocket science, right? I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. That's not what I do. It's not what I believe in. I never believe in conspiracies. This stuff is right in front of us, and it's not been talked about. This guy right here, watch him in his hand on his head. So what he's doing, this guy doing that with his hand, was signaling for him to go back to the freezer. But this guy, who I believe didn't know, was still standing there, so he didn't know where to go, and then does that. Again with the hand. Now he's doing it on his nose. These are answered. My opinion. My only summation can be, if it's not warning someone of someone else coming, they're answering questions like that. So it's a yes or a no, or it's some kind of exchange of information. Do you catch it? Right there. He takes his glasses off, rubs his face. He's got his hand to his nose. How many officers are sitting there doing this? I mean, how do they all just have like itchy noses? Or, I mean, it's unbelievable to me. I don't understand how people can't see this.
Alrighties, so remember in not last week's video, but the week before that, I think it was part 2, when we were talking about what happened when they found Kenneka, and why did the beverage manager know exactly where to go? He went straight to the freezer. So this theory is going to be on, was it a hotel cover-up? So when the police came, they had a 2-officer search, and they could not find anything on the lower level. And at that point, the female manager was looking at all of the footage, and she was like, I saw Kenneka go into the lower level and I haven't seen her come out. She had searched all the way up until the 6 o'clock point, and she was like, well, she hasn't come out at this point. And then the police officers came up. I do actually think that it is quite strange that the beverage manager after that went straight to the freezer in a lesser used part of the hotel, because remember, that kitchen was not abandoned like some people are reporting that it was not abandoned. People had been using that kitchen like in the days leading up. It was just a lesser used kitchen. So it still remains strange that the beverage manager went straight to that freezer and then went straight to get the police, and then they went straight to it. I do think that's quite strange. Another thing about the hotel is that for Kenneka to have gotten down to that lower level, And for really anyone to get down to that lower level, you would have needed a staff access key. And this piece of information is actually coming from Teresa Martin, which is her mother. They went through the hotel, they had all their video cameras there, and they were like, this is ridiculous, like how could she get down to this level? You need staff access to get into the place where she was. Like, you need a staff access key. So something that falls into, like, was the hotel covering something up? Why could Kenneka and her friends, by the way, because they also went down there when they were looking for her, why did they get access to this part of the hotel that was meant for staff only? I am aware that the friends didn't actually go into the place where Kenneka was. They stopped at signs that said it was a restricted area. However, Kenneka ignored those signs and she went into the kitchen. Why? Why was she able to get into that area? Why was it not properly closed off? Why were there not mechanisms or things in place to keep it a staff only area? Signs, I don't know. Do they do enough? So now this opens us up into another theory that somebody in the elevator actually allowed Kenneka to get to the lower level. Others say that someone's actually calling Kenneka and luring her to that part of the hotel and luring her to the freezer, which also ties into another theory about human body part trafficking and body trafficking as a whole. In the first part to this case, it was on the Biological Resource Center, and we'll talk about that later. But just know that if you haven't watched any of the videos in this series up to this last video that you're seeing now, you need to go back, because otherwise this stuff is like, these theories that are coming up after this one are not going to make sense, and those are very, very detailed. So just letting you know that the person calling Kenneka, luring her to the freezer theory actually ties in directly to a body trafficking theory. So in terms of this staff access part of it, why could Kenneka get down to that area? Was somebody in the elevator who maybe was staff who had their key card to get down to that area? Or were patrons able to get down to that area just by using their hotel pass, you know, the little key card that lets you get in? Kenneka was able to get down to that part of the hotel. There's no question about it, because that's where she ended up. So either way, Kenneka was able to get down to that part of the hotel, and so were her friends. And so I don't think that someone needed to be in the elevator to let her down to that level. I don't think that someone who worked for the hotel needed to have been in the elevator to give her access to the staff area, because every single person from that night got down to that level without using any sort of access. And I know that you can actually get down there just by going through the lobby and down like a little ramp thing. And I think when reports say that it was a staff only access area, I do believe that they're just talking about signs. There is no sort of mechanism, no sort of lift restriction that was in the hotel at that time. It was literally just signs. But that also does make the hotel liable. Some people are saying that, because we have brought this up before, you know, the piece of trash bag that was on her acrylic nail? Some people are saying that they believe Kenneka was put into the trash before she made it into the freezer. People are saying that there are all these carts, and there is an entire video where they go through the security footage, and in the little part where she comes out of the elevator, there are a whole bunch of people with carts, which usually hold things like laundry and trash and all that kind of stuff. There is one particular YouTuber who believes that Kenneka was in one of these trash bags, and that is why she had a little piece of, like, I guess garbage, like the black material from a trash bag on her nail.
Black bag inside of the green crate. And that's another thing about to discuss too, about these green crates. Alright, so here it goes. And I'm gonna have to pause it. Not so fast. Who's that black bag? Let's go back. Okay, what's in this black bag, y'all? That's a fucking black bag. This is supposed to be the green crate, right?
They're saying that this is the reason why Kenneka had dirt all over her clothes and all in her hair as well. Other people are saying that it looks like someone is grabbing and yanking her right foot when she goes around the corner to the freezer area, and that is proof that someone has swiped her. They also say that that is the reason why there is a cut on her foot and why her shoe was off. If you watch the footage, and I will put it here, no one's swiping her foot. You can actually see her past that point where they said that someone swiped her foot, and she has continued to walk. No one has grabbed her. And also, if someone did grab her foot, her whole entire body would have fallen backwards. So no one grabbed her foot. And you can see her after that point where they're claiming someone grabbed her foot and yanked her. She's still walking past that point where they're claiming that that happened. So that part is debunked just by the footage. So this is where they say that her right foot is getting swiped. At this point, they're saying, because her right foot goes a little bit way too, like, in front, they're saying that at this point they think someone's grabbed her right foot. But if you keep watching the freaking footage, look. She's still standing, no one's grabbed her. The person who made that theory is literally just trying to get views because she's still in view after that point where they said that someone swiped her. And if you also look at the reflection in here, you can, that little bit there is the top of the freezer door. She is face to face with the freezer door. Have a look at the stainless steel reflection. You can basically see her right in front of it. See that? Can you see her right there? That's her hair. She's right in front of the freezer door. She's standing right there. Do you see her? Right there. That is her reflection in the stainless steel. Nothing nefarious. See? I don't see a big... Do you see anything? Because I don't. And then in terms of that trash bag on her finger, in the like radio dispatching thing with the police and the person who found her, the other police officers are saying, "Where are you?" And the police officer who found her is describing which kitchen they're in, and he said the freezer next to the trash.
301 here. Oh, fuck. 301, everything 10-4?
Negative. I have that subject in the kitchen in a freezer. She is frozen solid.
Jerry, what kitchen are you in?
I'm in the rear by the dock area. By the garbage. You're right, by the garbage. By the garbage. By the garbage.
When Kenneka walked into that area with the freezer, there were trash bags right next to the freezer. We also know that that freezer was filthy. If you've seen the photos, there's Glad wrap on the floor, there's dirt on the floor, there's bar grit on the floor, there's random bits of cardboard on the floor from cardboard boxes from inventory. And there is also like garbage bag plastic on the floor. It looks like she is rolled around. And remember when I said in the later stages of hypothermia, you go a little bit wild, not a little bit, you go really wild, you go really crazy, and you start, you know, thrashing your body about. She has garbage and dirt all over her, and that is from how filthy that freezer was. So it is likely that that piece of garbage bag that is stuck to her nail is from transfer from that filthy frickin' freezer. I know I seem to be muscling through these theories. Yay, the construction stopped. So the next theory that we are going to be talking about is something that started this whole entire series for me, which was the Biological Resource Center. Again, if you haven't seen that video, you need to go see it, because Basically, as a summary, and I'm not going to put every detail in here because you should have watched that video, and if you didn't and you don't get this theory, then go watch it. But basically, as a summary of what happened, the FBI raided a branch of different body donation centers, and basically what had happened was there was a paper trail involving a whole bunch of different body donation centers where they were taking bodies and literally playing with them. It's pretty horrific. They were taking bodies under the guise of saying that they were going to use it for like research and medical science and breakthroughs and finding cures for things like Parkinson's, cancer, heart disease, when in reality they were actually selling the body parts on the black market, and they were also playing with the body parts. There were literal piles of torsos. There were buckets of heads. Most of the body parts were infected, and a part of the indictment for all of these centers were that they also sold body parts which were infected with things like HIV and just like a whole range of diseases. And so that was like a whole other part of it. Why is this connected to the Kenneka Jenkins case? Well, there are, well, actually, this actually isn't a huge theory, but it is one that connected me to this case, and it is the address of one of the biological resource centers. So it was the Rosemont Biological Resource Center. The address is, and I have to read this off because my brain isn't that great, but the Rosemont Biological Resource Center's address is 9501 West Devon Avenue, Rosemont Village. The address that the investigators for the Kenneka Jenkins case is 9501 West Devon Avenue, Rosemont Village. Now, when you Google this location, the first thing that comes up is this commenter who has left a Yelp review. And this commenter is saying that Kenneka Jenkins's organs, I guess, because this is how you donate a body. When you have a, like, it's kind of like a will type thing. If you want to help other people, if you want to help science or medical science and things like that, and you do want to donate your body or a particular organ or, you know, some organs, you'll have a plan for that. The person who is commenting on this Yelp review on the location is saying that Kenneka's body was due to be donated to the Biological Resource Center. Another thing that kind of feeds into this entire theory is that, remember when I said in the elevator part where people and cleaners keep bringing in these carts, these like laundry carts. Every single time a cart moves through, there seems to be a cleaner standing there mopping that cart's trail. It's kind of like when you mop your house and you've got like mud on your shoes and you're kind of trying to leave the room without muddying the floor. You're mopping your own trailer, and that is what it kind of seems like these cleaners are doing, and people have picked up on that. Some people say that the carts in this particular part of the hotel are not laundry carts. This is because the hotel has a couple of different laundry rooms, and in every single laundry room all of the carts seem to be blue, whereas the carts that they've got in this part of the hotel seem to be greenish color.
That's a green cart. Watch this. She got green carts. Her and all these employees that walk through this footage. Not one of these people got one of the other carts I'm about to show y'all next.
People are saying because they are carrying some trash bags on that cart in that one clip that they saw, that means that Kenneka was in one of those trash bags before she was put in the freezer. And so people are saying that these cleaners are bringing bodies, human bodies, in these garbage bags, and Kenneka was in one of them. And they're saying that the cleaners are transporting them in these green colored carts because they aren't the same color as what the hotel uses for their other laundry rooms. They're saying that the reason that the other cleaner is mopping up the cart's trail as it goes past is because of DNA and stuff like that. And the general theory is that the cleaners are in on this body trafficking thing. The hotel is in on this body trafficking thing with the Biological Resource Center, and they're actually providing the body donation place with bodies from their hotel, with people that have attended their hotel, and they're killing them and then bringing those bodies to the biological resource center so that they can be donated, and that the hotel are getting some sort of kickback from providing the biological resource center with all of these bodies. The biological resource center in Rosemont Village is a couple of floors above the police station within the Rosemont Village, and those police people are investigators who investigated the Kenneka Jenkins case, and that's what the connection is. I can debunk this theory pretty easily because we see Kenneka walking like in the direction of the freezer. Like literally the second that she goes off screen is the second she would have been like pretty much front to front to the freezer. Even though we don't have that security footage from above the freezer, we can see and we can, you know, use our logic to know that she probably went in that freezer because that is where she was found. Do I think that the cleaners somehow, without being seen on footage, killed Kenneka, and that Kenneka just somehow, you know, was seen on camera walking to the freezer, that they had her in a garbage bag and were transporting her away from the hotel, but then somehow she ended up still in that freezer? Like, it does not make any sense. Just by using logic, how do you expect, and why would you expect the cleaners to think, oh, you know what, actually this body is a little bit different, instead of giving this particular body to the people we're supposedly getting kickbacks from giving them victims, our hotel victims? We're actually just going to take her back to the freezer and then just leave her in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would they do that if there was this huge organ trafficking kickback relationship between the Biological Resource Center and the Crown Plaza Hotel? What made Kenneka so different that they would take her all the way back? You know what I'm saying? In terms of how weird it is that the cleaner was mopping up the cart's trail. I think she was genuinely just like trying to clean, and the cart was going by and she was like, oh friggin' hell, Betty, you're ruining my clean floor. And so she just cleans where the cart is going past. In terms of the different colored carts, I don't know why this is an issue, but let me just explain it. Yes, the Crown Plaza Hotel has a couple of different laundry rooms, and in these laundry rooms they're using blue carts. They look newer than these green carts that you're seeing in this part of the hotel. Why do they have different colored carts? It is really honestly truly possible that they just ordered some new carts that weren't the same color as their old ones, and they decided not to chuck out the green ones and continue to use them even though they're not the same color as their new carts. You know what I'm saying? There are some people who say that her organs were taken before Teresa got to see her daughter's body, and this stems from the fact that that sergeant took 5+ hours to let Teresa into the freezer area to see Kenneka's body, and she was in a body bag. There are many different reasons as to why this sergeant took so long. One of them could be because he's actually just like a straight up asshat, but another reason could be because they were actually trying to contain the scene. I think you would notice if your daughter's organs had been taken, and you don't even need to go off the mother's recollection of this because we have the autopsy report. She wasn't missing any organs. The only thing that she was missing was a part of her nervous system, which you don't need as an adult. You do need it as a baby to fight off diseases as an infant, but it is common practice for young adults and adults to get this removed because you do not need it as an adult. And if you do have certain health conditions, you actually have to have it removed. But as we said in the last video, that literally did not contribute to her death whatsoever. It wasn't taken immediately before her death, and it wasn't taken after her death. And also, I think, again, you would notice if your daughter had just had some sort of surgery and you know, because obviously Teresa was skeptical from the beginning, and I'm sure that if she saw that someone had magically taken her daughter's organs in the last couple of hours, you know, in that 5-hour gap, I'm sure she would have noticed something. So no, I do not believe that someone had trafficked her organs in that 5 hours that the police were working on the crime scene. And also, are you forgetting that there is security footage? And if that's not enough for you, and if you think that, oh no, somebody took her organs in that night when she was in there, like before she was frozen, that makes no sense, because we've seen the crime scene photos. There's no blood, there's no incisions, no one took her organs. And also the autopsy report says that the only thing that was missing was the thymus, and that was taken probably years before she even died. Every single theory that I'm aware of, I have just debunked in the last couple of videos. So you're sitting there and you're probably thinking, well, what do you believe? If you are saying all these theories are wrong, like, what do you think happened? Here's what I think happened. I genuinely do believe that there was a cover-up, both by the hotel and both by the police, but just not in the way that you guys are thinking. I think that there is a reason why everyone is skeptical of this case. There's a reason why you have all of these skeptical feelings about this case. With all of the evidence put together and a little bit of logic used, you can see that the thing that they're covering up is both the hotel's negligence and the police's unwillingness to help. I love conspiracies, and I only report on fact. There are so many people who get so upset about me not believing their conspiracies. Things like the Biological Resource Center having Frankenstein victims, where they cut a man's head off and replaced it with a little girl's head. And then the fact that they got this Frankenstein man-child head Frankenstein thing and hung it from a wall. Those things are actually fact, and they're gruesome and they're gross, and they're things that have been uncovered in an FBI investigation. And I know the FBI wanted to be involved in this case, and I know that the Rosemont police actually declined that offer, and I think there's a reason for it. They didn't want to be investigated by the FBI, because if they did, there would be an uncovering of so many instances where Kenneka could probably have been saved, not just by the police, but also by the Crowne Plaza. I think that everyone close to Kenneka did everything that they possibly could to find her, and they reached out more times than they should have had to. They asked for help, they begged for help, and then they demanded help, which got those kids kicked out of that hotel. It got the mother kicked out of that hotel several times. There were absolutely no precautions from the hotel to stop something like this from happening. I think that the hotel is not even just covering up the fact that they don't have proper safety precautions, but I also think that they're covering up the fact that they were so unhelpful, so rude, and just negligent in every single part of this case. I think that is what they're covering up. This entire thing has been about PR from the beginning. That has been evident in the fact of them not releasing the footage of Kenneka going into the freezer, likely because it would have shown just how easy it was for her to get into it in the first place. The second thing that they are covering up is the fact that every single person involved in trying to find Kenneka asked for their help. Likely in those crucial moments when the hotel could have found her by looking at the security footage, she may have been saved. I know there was only a very, very short window from when she could have been saved, because the temperature in the freezer was -13 degrees, and the survival rate is just very, very short. However, there was a window, a crucial window, where Kenneka could have been saved if people were a little bit more on the ball. And then in terms of finding her earlier, the police did not treat this case how they should have. The 911 phone operator brushed it off. He said that she's likely passed out somewhere. Whereas in all of these other cases that involve a Caucasian person, 911 operators generally do not just say, oh, just call us back later. They generally don't just say that, oh, the victim's just probably passed out somewhere. I understand. Hindsight is a beautiful thing. And look, that might as well just be my channel's hashtag. Like, I know I say that in every single case, but hindsight really is a beautiful thing. None of the people knew that this was happening. However, if they had have treated it like they should have, like their job description requires them to, then maybe this could have been stopped. And that is the thing that they are covering up. The police are covering up the fact that they were negligent. The hotel are covering up the fact that they were negligent and the fact that they could have saved her. Every misstep that the police took in this case is an embarrassment. There's one particular YouTuber who in her video said that if you don't feel some type of way about this, then you are heartless. And I kind of agree with her, but not in the context that she was saying. I think you have a very real reason to have skeptical feelings about this. But I just think they're directed in the wrong place. I don't think that her mother sacrificed her to the devil. I don't think that it was a gang initiation that was a spiritual and satanic thing that involved 666 and all of these different hotels and all of these different elaborate things. I don't think that Kenneka's body was, I don't think that Selena Gomez had anything to do with the Kenneka Jenkins case. I don't think that this has anything to do with the Illuminati. But I do think you have a very real reason to feel some type of way about this. And there are 3 reasons. The hotel's negligence, the police's negligence in every misstep that they took, completely embarrassing and criminal. And then the last reason, and I know a lot of people hate it when I talk about this, but it is so relevant, and it is relevant in so many different cases, and no one wants to talk about it because they're scared of being too politically correct. And how is that a bad thing? This is part of the Black Lives Matter movement, and it should be. Just from being in the true crime community, I've seen almost every single case. And the way that, apart from some exceptions, the way in general the police and the public and resources given are different when the victim is black to when the victim is a Caucasian person is sickening. And I think we should be directing our conversation here. It is important. It is way more important than talking about Satan, than talking, than blaming it on the victim's mother, than blaming it on the victim's friends, when all of these theories can be easily debunked with logic. It is so sad that people are spending their energy and time on debunkable theories that completely forget Kenneka was a living, breathing human who was treated so unfairly in life and death. And I think that it's sad. You have a right to have questions. You have a right to question everything to do with this case. You should be using logic though, and you should be positioning your questions on a systematic level. So I get why you have skeptical feelings about this case, and I get why there are so many emotions that are so high in this case, because a young girl's life was taken and it could have been prevented. Not just that, it adds insult to injury that lawyers, Department of Police, investigators, and the hotel have lied, have withheld evidence. They have lied about the existence of this footage. They even brought in this stupid freaking activist. It adds insult to injury that they would contact the victim's mother and say you need to tell your Facebook Live that everything is fine because the hotel is losing money. It adds insult to injury that the hotel, instead of offering their condolences, would just offer money. It adds insult to injury that, I don't know who would do this, but people are making fake charity donation pages for Kenneka and for her family when they're not even real. They're just trying to take money. And it adds insult to injury that there are YouTubers out here. The fact that I have had to go through two-hour videos on theories which are so easily debunkable, but at the root of them, these YouTubers, most of the YouTubers, because some of them genuinely believe it, some of these YouTubers are putting out these theories for views, and you can tell because there are like ads every 10 minutes of the way, and it is disgusting. Somewhere along the way, Kenneka has just been forgotten in this whole entire conversation. And the entire reason that I do true crime videos is, yeah, of course, I'm not gonna lie, it is entertainment for some of you guys. And also, you know, I like this kind of stuff. I love conspiracies. I do believe in aliens and all this kind of stuff, but at some point you have to realize that these are real life people and there are still victims out there, including the family. You have to be respectful. This is not information that you are owed. This is information that is being given by the family and they don't owe you anything. So at some point you need to remember to be respectful, and I'm not seeing respect there for the family whatsoever. This has been such a wild ride, and I thank you so much for sticking through it with me. I wanted to make sure that I had the most comprehensible, the most together, the most factual, while also including theories that I may not believe, but I think it's important to debunk those theories. Otherwise, you know, people are just going to keep making these videos and not using their logic. I just wanted to make sure that this was a collection of everything in the Kenneka Jenkins case, and that's why it had to be a series. So thank you so much for talking about Kenneka with me. I really do think that we need to start having a conversation, or at least continue the conversation, because it has already been started, and we just need to continue it and keep it at the forefront of this case, that we need to start looking at how we're treating Black and brown victims. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help. And if you would consider subscribing to me, I do a true crime video every single Sunday, and on Wednesdays I do YouTube challenges, YouTube tags, story times, and haul. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next True Crime Sunday.